Hey friends, Sunday fun day. You guys are all here to do some IOA, go over some trustworthy indicators of measurement. For those of you is anyone new here? Has anyone not been to ABA retake or been with us before? If so, you can mention it in the chat. That way we have an idea. Hey Daisy, welcome. Okay, so for those of you that don't know me, I am Jenny. I started ABA retake a year and a half ago. I passed the BCBA exam on my 6th attempt. I tested when it wasn't continuous testing, and it was probably the most excruciating experience I've ever been through in my whole entire life. So if you're a retest taker, we get it, we understand you, we've been there. There's nothing worse than going through this process alone and feeling shameful and upset and not worthy. As a future BCBA, BCABA candidate, right? I know for myself, I felt that way, and I didn't change a lot of my study habits for a very long time. By the way, disregard puppy cries in the background. And that's kind of why we created ABA Retake. I wanted a place that was different than most prep courses. I wanted a place that focused on application and also was a safe place for retest takers. We do have first-time test takers that come into our course, that come into our private group tutoring sessions. We do not discriminate. But what I can tell you is we get it. I know for myself, I studied for almost 2 years to pass this test, and knowing the ins and outs of this task list is going to help you so much in regards to this test and in regards to you being a future behavior analyst. So, hi, Layla. Hi, everyone. So what is the number one thing you guys struggle with the most in regards to this exam or even studying? And you can type it in the chat. Application and fluency, applying the knowledge in scenarios, dissecting questions. Yeah, so as retest takers, we have a tendency of overanalyzing things, and sometimes we can even overgeneralize concepts, meaning that we use them inappropriately, right? So I know for myself, I used to answer questions, a whole lot of questions, right, prior to me testing. And what I used to do is I used to memorize questions. If I got a question similar to the one that I had on measurement artifacts, I would overgeneralize that to so many other scenarios that seemed similar. And that was one of my huge deficits. So I don't know if anybody else does that as well. And Janae, you want to introduce yourself real quick before we get started?
Yeah, sure. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Janae. I took Jenny's course, her June crash course, and then again in the July 8-week course. And I tested for my 8th time in September and passed. So I was in the same position as you guys not too long ago. For me, it was application. I knew the I knew the material. It was more so applying it to the scenarios. And just like Jenny said, I would see one scenario and apply it incorrectly to other scenarios. So, oh, well, this is measurement artifacts, so this has to be measurement artifacts because the last question was similar. So it was really breaking down the nitty gritty. And Jenny's class helped me dramatically with dissecting and breaking down and really understanding, and I say it all the time, the why not is just as important as knowing why the answer is correct. Because I was inappropriately applying them to the wrong scenarios. And so that was really critical for me. But you guys can do it. Keep pushing through. And yeah.
Thanks, Janae. Also, in regards to being a retest taker and first-time test taker, be very aware of your study behavior, your own study behavior. Hopefully we can help you with that. The one thing that I always tell myself and other students is nothing changes if nothing changes, right? So if you are a retest taker and you keep studying the same way, I challenge you to change that, okay? We know change can be difficult, but clearly something hasn't worked in the past in regards to us not passing. So I think it's always a great way to change things up in regards to studying. All right, I think we should get started. So guys, we are doing a free class, yay, we love free, on inter-observer agreement and validity, reliability, and accuracy. Let me tell you something, I hated these areas so much, like with a passion. I hated this more than experimental design, and I really didn't like experimental design when I was studying. But hopefully today we can make it more simplistic for you. I can tell you now that I do enjoy it, thankfully, because I teach it to you guys, but also once it clicks, it's really simplistic. So just kind of stick with the basics during our class, and we're gonna answer some questions. So we're gonna have class for an hour. So we're gonna end at 10 after 1 today. Also, if you guys leave your camera on, I am gonna raffle 5 people to win a mini mock. So if your camera is on, you will be entered into the raffle. I am gonna announce the winners tomorrow evening via Instagram and Facebook, okay? So after this class today, I'm literally gonna write down everybody that had their camera on, enter it into a raffle. I'm gonna pick 5 winners, and you're gonna win a mini mock of your choice, area of the task list of your choice. Because let's be real, reinforcement is much needed when it comes to studying, and so is free stuff. So, all right. Disregard my dog. Tension-seeking behavior. I'm trying to put on extinction. Okay, perfection progress. Guys, if you're anything like myself, I want to be a perfectionist, but realistically, as long as you're progressing in this area, in these areas of the task list, please reinforce yourselves for that. Just because you're not getting 80s or 90s on mock exams does not mean you shouldn't be reinforcing yourself. Guys, this is this upcoming week for our spring course, we're doing experimental design. So experimental design part 1 is going to be, my puppy is going crazy, I apologize. Part 1 is going to be on Tuesday. Janae, you want me to take it? Okay.
No, it's okay. The arrows are being super sensitive right now.
Oh, okay. Part 2 is going to be on Thursday. Guys, you do not have to be a part of the full course in order to attend our classes. We have drop-in options. So if you're interested, you can go on our website. And the next slide is just a breakdown of our whole schedule in case you are interested. So the last 4 classes of our spring course are actually going to be review. So those 4 classes are going to focus primarily on answering questions. So from May 18th to May 27th, those 4 classes are going to be reviewing all areas of the task list, but we're going to focus mostly on questions. Analyzing questions, yay, our favorite. Coming to you April 28th on Wednesday. 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. So for full course students, you're going to have class Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday if you come. All areas of the task list, for those of you that don't know, I am so sorry. Okay, for those of you that don't know, analyzing questions, we answer questions for 2 hours, all areas of the task list. It's our favorite class. I love it. It's really beneficial. We try to challenge you. So talk about programming common stimuli. We bring the test taking center into the contrived setting, which is class. So if you want to join, I just posted it on our website today. So it is there, and I could put the link in the chat in a little bit if you guys are interested. All right, friends, 3 indicators of trustworthy measurement. What are they? Validity, awesome. Accuracy, reliability. Nice job, friends. Good. All right, so, but what do they mean? Raise your hand if you struggle with these 3. I used to, big time. Okay, well, hopefully this will make life a lot easier. Validity, what does validity mean? Good, Layla, what you're supposed to measure. Good, Sydney, awesome. Right, so if I want to measure how much weight I'm losing, I'm not going to use a ruler to do so, right? That is not valid. That would be invalid. The valid measure to measure how much weight I lost would be a scale, right? So you always want to make sure that when you're coming across scenario questions, what are we measuring? All right, if it's an inaccurate measurement system, then it won't be valid. Awesome. Accuracy. True value. Way to go, Jacqueline Spector. Yes, good job, Michelle. True value. Awesome. And we're going to review this a little bit more. Reliability. Repeatability. Awesome. We want to make sure things are reliable, right? So if we keep measuring them, are they close in proximity to one another, right? If I got on the scale this morning and it said I weighed 160 pounds, and then I got on later this evening and it said I weighed 158 pounds and then 160 pounds, technically that's reliable. It's close in proximity to one another, but it's not accurate. Okay, Janae, I'm gonna hand this over to you real quick while I manage this puppy for a second.
Sounds good. All right, guys, here's just another slide in regards to those indicators of trustworthy measurement. So there's a quote from Cooper, but then we also have it here. So just repeating: validity is measuring what we intend to measure. Accuracy, the AKA, is true value, and reliability is the AKA is repeatability. The threats to reliability and accuracy, they're already listed here. But we can see unreliable observations, poorly designed measurement systems, inadequate observer training, and reactivity. IOA, my favorite. I love IOA.
Hey guys, what's the AKA for IOA? Believability, awesome. Who can volunteer and tell us why we do IOA? What's the point? Why do we do it?
We collect IOA to make sure that the treatment is being ran correctly and that the observers are understanding the definition and they're marking what has to be marked and not drifting from that definition.
Way to go, Sydney. Awesome. All right, guys, so when we do IOA, are we doing it solo? Are we doing it via video? Like, how are we doing it? Good, 2 observers. Good, you always need 2 observers. There's an inter-observer agreement, an agreement between 2 observers, right? It can't be done with me, myself, and I. It wouldn't be IOA. Good. So we want to make sure whatever I am measuring, that Layla is measuring the same exact thing, right? So if me and Layla are observing an individual and taking data, we want to make sure that me and Layla are looking at the same thing and recording the same instances of behavior and taking similar data. If not, then there's a problem, right? This is when measurement bias comes in and some internal, like things that affect internal validity. What is internal validity? I am so sorry. You guys have a noise machine during class today, and it's my dog. Okay, so internal validity is the intervention, the independent variable, right? So like in order for something to be internally valid, there's validity, right? So we want to make sure we're measuring what we intended to measure. We want to make sure it's accurate. We want to make sure it's reliable. Things that jeopardize internal validity is going to be reactivity, observer drift, measurement bias, and things like that. So technically IOA, we're not looking at the intervention. We're not doing that yet. What we're looking at is the measurement component behind it, right? So before we start an intervention, we want to make sure that everybody is on the same page and everybody is seeing exactly the same thing in regards to taking data on whatever behavior is being targeted. So again, like if we're not measuring things correctly, if me and Layla aren't on the same page, internal validity is not going to exist by the time we get to the intervention and we're implementing the intervention. So remember, IOA has to do with measuring the behavior. And then later down the road, that's when we're going to be doing like competency-based training and stuff. But IOA is always going to be the behavior data.
Jenny, I just want to add to, Lauren brought up a good point in the chat, and she said that you're measuring it separately. So even though there's 2 or more observers using the same measurement system and recording, the same observation, they're not together the data. Like they're not next to each other. They're, further away from each other so that they're collecting that independent data and then they're comparing after. So I just wanted to, Lauren brought up a good point about they're doing it separately. Like the two observers are not next to each other collecting on the same, like they're not collaborating as they're collecting.
Yes, thank you, Lauren. Here's a learning opportunity. So if me and Layla were sitting close to each other, okay, let's just say we weren't on opposite ends of the room. She was like 5 feet next to me, and I look over and I see that she's putting a plus during an interval for whole interval recording. And then all of a sudden I skew my data because I'm like, crap, I must have missed that, but she put down something. Let me write something. What happened? What just happened there? Not necessarily a measurement artifact, not measurement bias, not drift. Reactivity, Lauren Wolf, good. What kind of reactivity? Yes, Lauren Wolf, I'm so proud of you. Girls paying attention in the course. It's showing. Yes, observer reactivity. Guys, there's reactivity and there's observer reactivity. Reactivity is when the client, the individual that we are observing, has reactivity due to us being in their presence. So their behavior or their whole demeanor is altered, right? And may cause a confounding variable. Then there is observer reactivity. Because I am observing with Layla, right? And we're doing IOA data. And I look over and I see that she recorded that a behavior happened that I didn't see, but because she did that, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I must have missed something. And I skew my data, that is me reacting to the observer reactivity. Light bulb, yay. I didn't know that for like ever. I thought it was the same freaking thing. So know the difference. That's really important. Know there's a difference between reactivity and observer reactivity. No problem. I just got really excited. I don't know how normal that is, but knowing those things is super important. Okay, so you guys already mentioned this. We want to make sure that our observers are competent, right? So that's why we do IOA. We want to make sure everybody's measuring the same thing. We also want to make sure the target definition is the same. Aggression can look like so many different things, right? It can be verbal aggression, such as cursing, screaming, tantruming. There's also physical aggression in regards to hitting, kicking, spitting, whatever it looks like. You want to make sure that the target behavior definition is very specific because aggression could look like many different things. So you want to make sure that everybody is observing kicking. So if IOA is not matching up, first thing you always want to do, go back to the operational definition. Make sure everybody is recording what is listed in the operational definition. All right, friends, MELT. Most stringent, exact count IOA, least stringent, total count IOA. What the heck am I talking about here? What does this mean? Anybody want to volunteer? You guys are quiet.
I'll take it.
Go ahead, Luba. Thank you.
Stringent would be just like, what is it? Just total count, like small over large. And that would be like the least stringent and not a very good way of measuring. And most stringent is the exact count, so that both observers have to have the exact count in order to get the IOA. So, and then when you do these things, you can have literally with the same numbers, you could have under least stringent like 100% accuracy, and most stringent could be like 30% accuracy. So you have to really go by, like the least stringent obviously is that the total count doesn't really, it just sucks. Don't use it.
Right, it's the most inaccurate for sure. Like it's not going to give us a good indication of what the behavior looks like. Good, Luba, thank you.
Another explanation, go for it.
Oh, that was amazing. No, and I love when people participate. I much rather have you guys be reinforced by the knowledge that you know, and maybe even the knowledge that you don't know versus me talking the whole time. So that was awesome, Luba.
I love IOA. I'm a geek.
That's good. That's awesome. Okay, guys, so we're going to go through all the friggin' formulas for IOA. Get excited. Okay. So right here, I put scored IOA and unscored IOA. So scored IOA formula is geared towards low rate behaviors. So if two IOA observers are taking data and the individual is demonstrating a low rate of behaviors, you want to use scored IOA formula. Okay, so I always think of slow. So I pair the S with slow for low rates of behaviors. Okay, so if you ever got a table that doesn't have a lot of occurrences happening between the two observers, you would want to use the scored IOA method. And then for unscored is going to be the opposite. That's for high rate behavior. So if you see a bunch of X's in the table, and Janae is going to review this because she loves IOA, then you're going to use unscored IOA. So unscored is going to be for high rate behaviors. Scored IOA formula is going to be for low rate. And then we gave you the mnemonic of MELT. For most stringent, that's what the M stands for, is going to be exact count. So ME is for most stringent exact count IOA, least stringent is going to be total count IOA. Meaning that exact is going to be a lot more accurate in regards to giving us information versus least. Guys, is my Wi-Fi being weird? No? Okay. So holes, guys, so you know how I just went over high rate behavior unscored? High rate is the H, U is for unscored, and then low rate, which is the L in holes, is for scored. Okay. Janae, you want to take over?
Sure thing. All right, guys, why do we use IOA?
Believability.
Good, Sydney. Yeah, believability. Detect observer drift. Yeah, so we want to determine the competence of new observers, detect observer drift. We want to make sure that operational definition is clear. And then we said already the believability. All right, guys, we're going to go over the formulas. Bear with us with these. So total count, I know Luba said it earlier. It's the simplest of IOA for event recording. So we are taking the smaller number over the larger number and timesing it by 100. This one is pretty straightforward with this one. And then we also have the same one for total duration. So this is going to be the IOA for timing. Same formula, only we're taking the shorter duration and putting that over the longer duration and timesing that by 100. So very similar, if not identical to total count. It's just for count, we're taking the count number, and then for IOA, for duration, we're taking the duration. And guys, if you guys have any questions, like stop us throughout. I just want to make sure we break it down. I want to cover the formulas, and a lot of them are similar. So we just said it, the total duration. This is used for timing data, so appropriate when total duration is being recorded and analyzed as a dependent variable. So as I said earlier, the shorter duration is over top of the longer duration, and we're timesing that by 100 to find the total duration IOA. All right, mean count per interval. This is what we refer to as the meanest, and it's more conservative than total count. We say it's the meanest, guys, because it takes the most time. So this is the average percentage of agreement between the counts reported by the two observers. And then we are going to times that or put that over top of the total number of intervals. So in interval 1, we're going to find the mean. We're going to find the mean of interval 2, the mean of interval 3, all the way through and put it over top of the total number of intervals and times that by 100. And I'll show you an example on the next slide. So guys, here, if you look here, so on the left, we see the interval times, and the next two columns, we see observer 1 and observer 2 and what they reported. And then we have the IOA per interval. So with this one, you can see observer 1 scored 3 and observer 2 scored 2. So when we're doing that mean interval, we're doing 2 over 3 and we're getting 67%. So then you're going to go through each one. So you're breaking down each interval and finding the mean of each interval. So 67%, 3 and 3, 100%, 1 and 2, 50%. And then you can see, so for the mean count, it's going to be 65.3. So we're going to add up all of these 67, 100, 50, 75, and 100 and times it by, or divide it by 6. And that's how we find the mean interval.
Sorry, Janae, hopefully I wasn't distracting you. I was putting in the chat
No, that's okay.
what measurement dimension we're using. And a lot of people put event recording, which was awesome. And guys, since it's mean count per interval, we know when we see that per, that is that indication of we're going to use a time component, right? So frequency over time is rate. Right? So real quick, guys, and you're going to practice this. Remember that the smaller number, the lower number is always going to be the numerator. So the denominator is the bottom number, right? So for interval 1, we're always going to put the 2 as the numerator and the 3 as the denominator. The smaller number is always going to be on top. That is always so important. So see observer 1 here is 3. And then it's 2. So we're not going to do, it doesn't matter what number comes first. Does that make sense? So we're not going to do 3 divided by 2. You always want to put the smaller number first. So 2 divided by 3. All right. I know for me, that's why I think I got IOA wrong for so long, because I did that. So, okay. Sorry, Janae, go ahead.
That's okay. Guys, on the next one, it's just kind of a reiteration of this one. So it's the most work, so that's why we call it the meanest. So as you can see, we just listed it down there with the formula at the bottom. So interval 1 IOA plus interval 2 IOA plus interval, you go all the way down and times it by the total, divided by the total number of intervals. Sorry, guys, I'm mixing up dividing and times today. Did anybody have any questions about mean count per interval and how to find it? This is the most work. So I feel like if you guys can get the mean count per interval down, the other stuff isn't going to be as difficult because it's this is like the most intense math work you'll have to do. All right, we're going to keep on trucking. Next one is mean duration per interval. So again, very similar to the mean count per interval. We're just going to do this one with duration. So the same concept. So we're going down each interval and we're calculating the duration. Yeah, same equation. So it's just instead of it being the count, we're doing the duration. So I'll go to the next one so you guys can see this slide for, oh, never mind, there isn't one for the visual. So guys, the same way we would do it, if we go back to this one, instead of it being the counts here where 3 and 2 are, it would have the duration number. So you're gonna add the durations and divide the durations to find the mean. Same formula though, so same equation with it. It's just that instead of it being the count, it's going to be the duration listed there. All right. So we have the event recording IOA, and that falls with an exact count per interval. So the exact count IOA is the most stringent. I know Jenny talked about it earlier. So the most stringent description for IOA for event recording. It's the percentage of total intervals in which 2 observers recorded the same count. So with this one, it's the number of intervals in 100% IOA over the total number of intervals times 100. And I think there is a visual for this one. Yes. Here you go, guys. So we're going to use the same block that we did for mean count, but you can see at the bottom the difference. So for exact count per interval, this one's going to be 33% because we're adding the ones that have 100% IOA agreement. Yes, thank you, Jenny, for annotating that one.
So as you guys can see, like this is where things can get tricky, right? Because look at the drastic difference between mean count and exact count in regards to the answer choices, right? So like, that's why memorizing these formulas is really important because, and once you get it down, it's really simplistic. So I'm wondering if we should practice real quick, Janae, and like demonstrate,
I was just gonna say, does
exact
anybody
count.
wanna? Yeah, I was just gonna see if anybody wanted to volunteer and figure out how they would do exact count for this scenario. Because it has the answer of what it is, but how do we get to that answer? Yes, Shelby Foster. Which two intervals are in the 100% IOA agreement? 2 and 6. Good. So yeah, 2 and 6 have 100% IOA agreement. So we're going to divide the total number of intervals in 100% IOA agreement. So 2 and 6. And we're going to divide that by the total number of intervals. So 2 over 6 is 33%. Good job, guys. Yeah, 2 over 6 equals 30.
Does everybody understand how we got 2 over 6 for exact count?
Cool.
What if this was 0? Would that count?
Still agreement, yeah.
Yes, way to go, Jacqueline. Yep. Yeah, so if that was 0, it would then be 3 over 6, and then it would be 50%. Awesome.
Good, guys.
Yep, 0 is still an agreement, even though it didn't occur. If we both agreed that it didn't occur, it still is going to count as an agreement. Awesome.
All right. And this is just the example that we just went over again, just with the visual. All right, guys. Trial by trial IOA. This is the agreement between 2 observers who measured the occurrence and non-occurrence for which the count for each trial can only be 0 or 1. So for this one, it's the number of trials in agreement over the total number of trials times 100. With this one, guys, you are going to count, just like I know Jacqueline just said it in the last one, if they agree that that a non-occurrence happened, you are still going to count that as being in agreement. So we're going to take the total number of trials in agreement, including 0, and divide that by the total number of trials and times it by 100. And we'll go into it a little bit more too. Time sampling IOA methods. What are the time sampling IOA methods? There are 3. Scored. Unscored. Interval by interval. Good, guys. Awesome. And we're going to break each one down. All right, interval
Guys,
by
what's
interval.
the AK for interval? Sorry, Janae. I got too excited. Guys, what's the AK for interval by interval?
Point by point.
Yes, we go, Rochelle.
All right, guys, the formula for interval by interval. We already talked about it a little. Intervals, the total number of intervals agreed over the total number of intervals. You might see it written as the number of intervals agreed plus the number of intervals disagree, but it's still going to be the total number of intervals. And we're going to times that by 100. So you probably are noticing a pattern that a lot of these formulas are very similar to one another. It's really just being able to figure out when to use them and to decipher them if you get a question in regards to that. So here's an example of interval by interval, point by point. So we have it here. We have the total number of intervals agreed divided by the total number of intervals. So if we have this one, anyone who want to volunteer and describe how or explain how they would get to the correct answer, what it would be?
Sure.
Got a little bit of prompt there. Go ahead, Denise.
Since we're calculating the number of intervals agreed, we would look at interval 2, interval 3, interval 4, interval 5. We would skip over to interval 7 and then interval 9 and 10.
Good, awesome. Which
And
gives
then you would
us
take
what?
your 7 and then divide that by 10,
Good.
which would give you that 70%.
Awesome. Way to go, Denise.
Thank
Guys, does that make sense to everyone? Denise just did a beautiful job of breaking that down.
I have a question. It makes sense, but I just have a quick question.
Yeah.
So what is the difference between this and the one we just did where we said,
Trial by trial.
yeah,
One is based on intervals and one is based on trials. The formula is exactly the same. So it's just if they have, instead of it being the interval number, it'll have the trial number. But the formula in the equation is the same thing of the total number in agreement over top of the total number of intervals.
okay, thank you.
But it would be, so if they're talking about a time sampling one, then you're going to use interval by interval one. So that's the equation remains the same. It's just if it would be a matter of if they ask a question of which one would, like, which time sampling IOA would you use, then you would use interval by interval. But it's the same formula. It's just one's based on trial and one's based on interval. So the only time you'd really have to, yeah, Jenny put it. So if they're asking like for discrete trial training, which one would you use? Trial by trial. If they're asking for time sampling, interval by interval, but the equation remains the same.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. That was a great question, Demi, because a lot of people see the same formula and they're like, well, why do we have two separate things? So it's the same, but it's, yeah, the equation remains the same, which makes it fairly easy to remember. But it's just a matter of knowing when to use each one.
Hey guys, so good question by Cheryl. She asked, would this formula be similar to exact? Does anybody know the answer?
Yes. Is it because it's the number of intervals agreed over the total?
Yeah, so we're looking for agreement, right? Whether it occurs or not occurs for trial by trial and interval by interval. Versus exact count, guys, we're dealing with what in the table? We're dealing with numbers, right? Versus interval by interval and trial by trial, we're just dealing with the X and the O of occurrence and non-occurrence. Okay, so the equation is, so one has exact count is going to be frequency. So total count, exact count, mean count per interval, that's all going to be under event recording. So you're going to have to you're dealing with the numbers in the table versus interval by interval, aka point by point, which is for time sampling, and trial by trial, you're just dealing with the X and the O's of non-occurrences and occurrences, right? So it is a similar equation, but remember that one has to do with numbers and the other two do not. All right. Good question.
All right, guys, moving on. Scored IOA. Let's talk about scored. Low rate of behavior. Good, Sydney. Slow and low. Yes. Good. So it's time sampling. It's one of the other time sampling ones. Let's go into the equation. So guys, scored interval, we said it's going to be used for low rate behaviors. So with this one, the equation for this one is going to be the total number of intervals agreed of an occurrence as the numerator. The denominator is going to be the total number of intervals where at least one observer scored an occurrence. And we're going to times that by 100. And I'm going to give you an example on the next page. So the numerator, both observers have to agree that an occurrence happened, right? They have to mark an X and an X. And then we'll show on the next one, but the denominator is going to be the total number of intervals where at least one observer scored an occurrence. So you'll see here. In this one, we see, well, if someone wants to volunteer to do it. This one. So if we're using the scored interval IOA equation, what would the fraction look like?
Eight over 10.
So it's not going to be 8 over 10. So with this one, and we're looking for, we have a lot of variability on this one. So guys, how many?
1 over 3.
1 over
1
3.
over 3. Yeah. Good. Right. So interval 3 is the only interval in which both observers scored an occurrence of the behavior. And then we're going to divide it by the total number of intervals where at least one observer scored an occurrence. So then we're going to take intervals 1, 3, and 9. because there's at least one occurrence or one scored occurrence. So the top number is the number in which they both agreed there was an occurrence, so interval 3, over top of the total number of intervals where at least one observer scored an occurrence. So intervals 1, 3, and 9. So it'll be 1 over 3, which equals 33%. Does that make sense to everyone? I know this one's a little tricky. Yes, okay.
Guys, one thing that really helps me in regards to inter-observer agreement and the formulas is that scored and unscored are going to be the formulas where the denominator, the bottom number, is going to be lower than the amount of intervals are in the table, right? So you notice for the other equations, all the denominators were 10. Scored and unscored is going to be most likely, I don't want to say 100%, it's always going to be lower because you never know, because there might be an occurrence like in every, there might be a non-occurrence or occurrence in each interval, but it's going to be lower than 10 intervals, right? So you want to look at scored, we're looking at which ones are scored, right? And then the numerator is going to be both that are scored. So for unscored and scored, the denominator is going to be different than all the other formulas. For me, once I got that, it made my life so much easier because at one point I was doing the same equation interval by interval for all of them. So if you can remember it that way, I think it would be helpful.
All right, guys, moving on. Unscored IOA. High rate, good, high rate of behaviors. Awesome. This is another time sampling IOA. All right, guys, just like the scored IOA, unscored is going to have the same equation, except this time we're agreeing on a non-occurrence. So with scored interval, we did the numbers of intervals that the observers agree that there was an occurrence. For unscored is the number of intervals the observers agreed that there was a non-occurrence. And we're going to divide it over the number of intervals where at least one observer scored a non-occurrence. So the same equation as scored, only with unscored, we're looking at the ones that they agreed that there was a non-occurrence. So I'll give you the visual because I think that's helpful. So with this one, if you take a look at this equation, yes, Roxanne, awesome. Good, Denise. So 2 over 4. So we see that intervals 4 and 7, both of the observers agreed that there was a non-occurrence. And then we're going to divide that by the total number of intervals in which at least one observer scored a non-occurrence. So intervals 1, 4, 7, and 10. So the total number they agreed of a non-occurrence is 2. So because of intervals 4 and 7 over top of 4 for 1, 4, 7, and 10. So you'll get 50%. Awesome job, guys. So once you, like with this one too, I said, earlier that scored and unscored have the same equations. Once you get that down, like Jenny said, with knowing like the equation, it remains the same. It's just a matter of if you're looking at whether or not you're scoring or like it's a scored one or an unscored. All right, awesome job, guys. All right. A more conservative and meaningful index of inter-observer agreement for discrete trial data is trial by trial. Good, guys.
Hey guys, why can't we do mean trial by trial or exact trial by trial? Hopefully this will produce some light bulbs for some of you. Why can't we do mean trial by trial? So we do mean count, mean duration, exact count, right? Total count. Why can't we do that for trial by trial or point by point? Good. Denise, awesome. Yeah. So with discrete trial training, we are focused on the trials, not count. So like, I think too, you guys, like I know for myself, when it came to studying, I asked myself these questions because then it clicked a lot more, because let's be realistic. This is a shit ton of information to dissect and to comprehend. So if you think about things like that, because we know trial by trial is just going to be the X and the O for occurrence, non-occurrence, versus total count, mean count, exact count is going to be the frequency, right? Or the rate, depending on what it is. So things like that, I think will really help you in regards to measurement questions for IOA.
All right. Jenny, we have questions next. Are you good with going on to questions, or did you want to add anything?
So Jacqueline asked a question. So would you say this is the most conservative method or just more? So most conservative method kind of goes hand in hand with most stringent, being exact count, right? So like, obviously we know that is the most stringent and most conservative method. Obviously trial by trial is going to be like more conservative than, we don't have like least trial, right? Like we know that, or not least trial, I'm sorry, total trial, right? So trial by trial is going to be more conservative, but we know that trial by trial is also not the most stringent method, right? Because we know at the end of the day, when it comes to the value of numbers, if we can get that data, that is going to be, that's going to have the most accuracy and validity when it comes to IOA, is going to be exact count, is going to be most stringent. Jacqueline, I don't know if that helped or if I confused you more. So remember, like most stringent, go ahead.
No. I understand the most strict or the most stringent would be exact count, and I know the least strict would be total, right? Because it's the smallest number over the larger. I guess I didn't know if it was more conservative for discrete trial because it's trial by trial, and then like something like frequency, a mean count would be more conservative, right?
Correct. Yeah. So like, yeah, because it's more specific, right? So like it's good. That's why it's more conservative. Yeah. So if you look at like the hierarchy, right? I mean, granted, like, and then we know least stringent is total count. But I would say like as long as you guys kind of understand that we want to use more stringent and conservative IOA methods versus total count, like I think that's what you want to keep in mind. That's kind of what they talk about in Cooper as well.
Thanks.
No problem. Good question, Jacqueline. All right, guys, time for questions. For those of you that are new, I do not read questions out loud to you. Why? Because I think it's annoying. That's not why I totally don't do it. I mean, yeah, my personal preference, that used to drive me crazy in class when people would read the question out loud, because I would block them out anyway and I'd read it on my own. But also like when you guys are in the testing center, nobody is reading you the question. You are sitting there and comprehending it yourself. So we give you, tonight we're gonna, or not tonight, today, we're gonna give you a minute to answer the question. Please send your answer privately to myself, Jenny, or to Janae Laudicio. Send it privately because reactivity does happen. Okay, so please try to send it privately. Mistakes do happen, we get it. And then if you want, please tell us if you want to volunteer to give us your answer, and we're gonna review it together as a team and go over it. And then we're just gonna keep on trucking, so. And for those of you that are driving, I'm gonna have to read it out loud then, I think, because I don't want you guys to get in a car accident. I tell you what, for people that, how many people are driving, send it to me in the chat, please. And then that will be the deciding factor, whether or not I should read it out loud, but I'll read it out loud towards the end of our timing interval. That way it doesn't distract other students. All right, guys, best of luck. For those of you that are driving, this is an IOA question anyway, so I wouldn't be able to read it out loud. But if you want, shoot me an email and I'll send you the IOA questions after class. All right, friends, 10 seconds. I have some variability, but majority of people got it right on my end, which is awesome. Also, if you want to volunteer, please let us know in the chat so we can call on you. All right, friends, and the answer is B, unscored interval recording. Go ahead, Danielle.
Okay, so I chose B because X represents the behavior. So it's high rate. So for high rate behaviors, we use unscored IOA. Scored, you would use it if it was a low rate, and A and D are AKs for each other. So I was able to knock those off.
Danielle, I love it. Way to go, girlfriend. Yeah, so that's why AKs are so important too, because you know that those are automatically out, right? Because they're AKs. Awesome. Any questions?
Yes. How did you know that the X means it's high rate behaviors?
I was actually just going to add that because I had a lot of people put C on my end for scored interval. And I don't know, the top, guys, if you have to read the top, it says, what is the most appropriate data strategy to use if the X represents the occurrence of the behavior and an O represents the absence of behavior? So we can see that the behavior occurred in all of the intervals except for 6.
This is a high rate behavior.
So it's a high rate behavior because it's occurring in all the intervals except for interval 6. So because it's a high rate behavior, we're going to use unscored IOA.
Okay. I see that.
Does that help answer your question?
Yes, thank you. So how would it be
Okay.
unscored then? Like, what would that look like? So it would be.
Where is interval 4? It's not, you don't have one there.
Oh yeah, it's missing. Thanks.
missing.
Thanks, Lana. We're gonna fix that. That's a typo.
Hey,
Our
can
bad.
I just ask you a really quick question? I didn't want to interrupt, but I'm going into my house. Do you have something that's a day long where you go over all the? I think it was like a Saturday, maybe in April. Is it where you have like one whole day where you go like all the items?
No. I know another test prep course that does that. I personally don't believe in that because I think it's hard to comprehend all that information. And they say long-term
I
studying.
think you're excellent. I think you're excellent. I'm a teacher
Oh,
for
well, thank
25
you.
years and I've been in all the other ones this is really, really amazing the way you do it. So I would just go to ABA retake and see what you actually sell at that point. Then I'm sorry, I thought you were the one
No,
that
no,
I
it's
like
totally
you. So I'm
okay.
gonna see I'll go reach out and kind of talk to you
Yeah,
soon.
yeah,
And I
you
think
can
you're
shoot
awesome.
us.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks. Well, I'm so glad
And
that some of you are joining
okay,
us
that's it.
today.
Thumbs up, and I'll be back. Bye bye.
Oh, we're looking forward to having you. Okay. So guys, remember unscored. The way that you can discriminate between the unscored and the scored IOA method is the rate of behavior, right? Or how many times the behavior is occurring. So here we know there is tons and tons of occurrences of behavior. So it's not a low rate because look, there's only, I mean, that's it for low rate of behavior. So we're not going to use scored because it's happening so much. Scored is for low rate behavior. So scored is out. Unscored is for high rate behavior. So that's why unscored, whenever you see a table with occurrence and non-occurrences, and majority of it is occurrences, you're going to use unscored.
Hey, Jen, can I
Okay,
just
Myra, yes.
chime in real fast?
Sure.
So I used to get these confused all the time. So it's great that the behavior is happening, but you want to know in this instance why it's not happening. So that's why you do the unscored. And a lot of things in this, unfortunately, are like opposite, like with whole interval, partial interval, things like that. But that's why I used to always be like, why are we not knowing the scored? It's higher. You want to know when this behavior is not happening. That's where the concern is. I don't know if that helped anybody.
Yeah, it also doesn't specify what the behavior is either. So it could be something that we want to see more of, like Avia said. So it could be a behavior that we want to see. So that's why, it's happening at a high rate. So we're, like Avia said, we're looking to see when it's not occurring and how often it's not occurring. And I know someone, I know whoever had asked previously had asked, how would we figure out what it is for unscored? So guys, if this, if you look at this, and we see, so like for this one, it'd be 1/2, because there's one interval in which both observers recorded a non-occurrence over top of the total number of intervals in which at least one observer. So it would be 1/2 for unscored. But does that answer the question? I know we had asked it in regards to why it would be unscored versus scored. But like Jenny
Yes.
said, look at the rate of the behavior, and that'll be really helpful with determining it. And also look for the things that say like what each, like X represents this and O represents that. Though like sometimes those the guides, like the grids, will be really beneficial for that.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. All right.
For those of you that can't read this, on the y-axis, it says SIB, well, it should say property destruction episodes per session. So behavior episodes per session, I'm sorry. Hopefully that helps. Sorry, guys. As you know, I make like a lot of questions out of similar graphs sometimes. I just gave us in one of our other classes, just different titles. All right, 10 seconds. Please let us know if you want to volunteer. Janae says she has 100% on her hand. I have a bunch of variability. All right, friends. The answer is C, frequency of property destruction. Dun, 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 dun. I see some pissed off faces. It's all good. Who would
I
like
have
to
a
volunteer?
I was gonna say I have a volunteer, Jenny. If you don't have one,
Okay. Yeah, go for
I'm
it.
not. I'm gonna butcher the name, and I apologize in advance. Andriana.
No, you
Is
got
it Adriana? I don't. Andriana. How do you say it?
Andriana.
Andriana. Okay, I was close.
Yeah. So looking at this question, I got a little confused at first because like the labeling, I saw like D said ratio of episodes and like behavior episodes. So I was like, it shouldn't be that one because it's frequency. We're looking at the frequency, not the ratio. The x-axis is for the dependent variable and what you want to see change. You want to change that behavior. So that's why I didn't go with A or B. And that's how I got C.
Andriana, did you say that the x-axis was the independent or dependent variable? I just couldn't hear.
Oh, sorry. The y-axis should be the dependent variable.
Awesome. Yeah, good. And I like how you did the process of elimination too. I think that was super helpful. And I apologize, guys. I know that was kind of confusing because part of the y-axis should have been blocked out and it wasn't. So I'm sorry if that confused you. So ratio, guys, is an EKA for rate. So rate of episodes. We know rate is what?
Count over time.
Thank you, Avia. Yeah, count over time. So the count, the episodes is on the y-axis, is the dependent variable, right? So Pat's property destruction is on the y-axis. So this is going to be the measurement component, right? And we know that this is count, right? Oh, I'm not supposed, I need Victor. We know that count, the frequency is on the y-axis, right? Count over time, that would be this graph, right? Because sessions, the independent variable is time, right? Sessions, that's time. That's an independent variable, that's the x-axis. So that's why ratio of episodes is out. Guys, frequency of successive sessions, remember sessions is the time component. X-axis is always gonna be the independent variable. Which is what? The ordinate or the abscissa?
Abscissa.
Nice, way to go. I don't know who that was, but that was good. Awesome. And then the y-axis is going to be the ordinate. I think of yo. And then x-axis, think of abscissa. Good job, guys. Let's keep on going because we're getting short on time and I want you guys to get more questions in. Uh-oh, it's the mean one.
All right, guys, we'll do like 10 more seconds. I know this one involves some math, so. All right, guys. Answer to this one is C. Yes, 67.5. So we'll round up to 68. How many people put interval 8 as 0% and got 57.5? Yeah, a lot of people do that one. No, no, that's a tough one. So guys, I put the interval ones because it's an agreement. I know I got a lot of people coming through. Dang it. Yeah, everything. Guys, so I put it here. So 100%, 50%. You could do it different ways too. You could do it as like, 0.1, however you want to do it. I just thought it's easier to do 100, 50, 75, and then to divide it by the total number. You can see the interval down here at 6.75. And then they times it. I just think it's easier personally to just add it up and do 100%, 50%. So you would add 100, 50, 50, 75, 100, 100, 0, 100, 0, 100, and then add that. So you should get 675 and then divide that by 10. So you'll get 67.5, which rounds up to 68%.
Awesome. I do it the other way with the fractions, and I got the
Yeah.
same answer. But
Yeah.
the way you just showed me, I love you guys so much. What you just showed me was another way of doing it that simplified it even faster for me. So that was perfect because I knew it was 68. I do like half and half is 1.
Yeah.
3/4. I do it by fractions, but
Yeah,
yours
so
is
you could
just a
do it
little
either way,
faster.
Lana.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
you could do it. And that's why I put in the PowerPoint, we put the
Thank
other way
you.
to do it too, just in case. I am more I'm more of a visual person, so I'm like, let's just get it done while, you know what I mean? So I thought that way was easier, but you can certainly do it another way. So whatever way works for you works. But all right, guys.
Your way is excellent because I didn't know that way. So that's great. I never thought
thank
of it
you.
that way. So I
Thank
love
you.
it.
Yeah, but I'm glad we could help. All right, guys, on to the next one. Jenny, I'm looking pretty good on my end. I have some variability. Oh, you're muted, Jenny.
Thumbs up. Majority of people got it right.
Cool. All right, guys. Answer to this one is B, validity. Anybody want to volunteer?
Can I?
Go ahead, Luba.
Yeah, because this is definitely one of my hardest, the most probably very challenging for me, but it's validity because she's using the app to measure her weight loss when she should be using a scale.
Awesome. Yeah, she isn't tracking what she wants to measure. Like she wants to measure how much weight she's losing. So she would need to use a scale in order to do that. And while the Weight Watchers app is great to track things like her steps and maybe her calorie intake and everything, she wants to measure how much weight she's losing, and she's not going to be able to measure that weight loss using the app. She needs to be able to use a scale for that one.
Why isn't it validity and reliability?
Because we don't have anything in here to show that there was like we don't have any
There's
repeated
no
measurements in there.
repeatability, but if you don't have it, I'm wondering, but it could be we couldn't have reliable in this instance either, because you don't have the repeatability to be the pounds. Am I wrong or am I right? It would definitely interrupt the reliability too, wouldn't it?
Correct, but we don't have that information in regards to accuracy. So like you are right, but because in this scenario, it's not going into detail about measuring, how much weight she lost like over time, multiple times. That's why D is out, if that makes sense.
It does, because you're looking at repeatability, which gives us reliability. So yeah, I just didn't see that going on. So all right, I understand what you're saying now.
Yeah, but you're right? Because it's like, if it's not valid, like you actually,
if it's not there, how do I know? Yeah, that's the only thing. Like I thought like a validity would have been great, but then I'd also next thought about repeatability for the reliability. And the way the question's worded, there's so much like, they're not doing exactly a scale, like she just said. It's not a scale standing on. So that's why I thought.
That's why, yeah, good. That's why it's not being jeopardized. That's why the best answer is validity, because the main breakdown of this scenario is going into detail about how she's using apps on her iPhone for losing weight, right? But we know that technically is not the relevant dimension, right? That is gonna measure exactly what we need to measure for Joan in regards to her losing weight. So that's why validity is what's being jeopardized the most.
I just noticed A was repeatability. And if I had noticed and read those slowly, I would have deleted A, which would have allowed me to delete D and got you to the B, which was the best answer.
Yeah.
Because I was looking at it from the repeatability aspect, but there's nothing there talking about it. So, but the fact that the two, I knew reliability, when you have repeatability, you have reliability, when you have reliability, you have so I could have just took those two out maybe, because I knew it wasn't accuracy. So that's good. Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yes, and I'm glad you brought that up too, because I'm wondering if other people did the same thing, like they didn't notice that those are AKs for each other. And good questions. All right, guys, let's do the next one. We're running over, but what else is new? You guys know us. We're always on later than expected. So we're going to keep on going. Is this the new question? No, it's not. Okay. Hey guys, if you don't know this and you're second guessing yourself, that's okay. This one's tricky. Just, I want you guys to point out the keywords. Okay, that's what we always recommend at ABA Retake. Point out the keywords in the scenario to help you navigate to the correct answer choice. What I find can be really interesting right now is a lot of people have not given me keywords and a lot of people have gotten it wrong. And I'm wondering if that has something to do with it.
The ones who got it correct on my end are the ones who, a lot of them provided a rationale as to why. So I think that providing those rationales and those keywords are going to be really helpful in a scenario question like this.
Yes, for sure. I want to call on someone, but she didn't give me her answer or rationale, but I know she knows this. I don't know, Janae, if she gave it to you. I think you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, she did not, but I know she knows this answer. Is she still on?
All right, I say you guys ready to go over it because I feel like people are getting anxiety. I see it via camera right now. Okay, and listen, this is a hard one. All right, friends. The answer is C, accuracy. Friends who are in my course or were in my last course, the winter course, we did this and it was a huge debate. I'm sure you guys all remember it very vividly. Okay, so Jessica Goodson got it right and I'm proud of you, girl.
I have a lot of people on my end. Shelby Foster got it right. Michelle, a lot of people got it. A lot of people were torn between C and D, and then they provided rationales as to why it was C. So I don't know if you have a volunteer at all, but
I can do it.
Go ahead, Shelby Foster.
So I put C because my rationale was since partial overestimates duration and underestimates rate, I feel like the 30-minute interval would have been too long because it says out of seat behavior is happening every 5 minutes. You would want like a shorter interval because it would be more accurate. So accuracy would be the answer.
Way to go, Shelby Foster. Hey, Janae, could you go back for a second? I just want to see something.
Sure.
Sorry, guys. Okay, never mind. It's so funny. I was sending a keyword to people that's not even in there because I thought it's part of a different question. So guys, causing problems with, way to go, Shelby Foster. Causing problems. Measurement artifacts are what?
Momentary.
Our extras. Whenever an artifact is always like something that's left behind and it's extra measurement artifacts. It could also be under too. But really, isn't artifacts period just positive? Extra?
So guys, right. I'm so happy you guys are here. Good guesses. However, like some of you are on the right track. Measurement artifacts are caused by discontinuous measurement, which we know is time sampling, right? Yes, discontinuous measurement for continuous behaviors. Because we're taking a sample of the data, measurement artifacts is caused by discontinuous measurement. It's also caused by inadequate observer training, along with like those threats to internal validity, right? So reactivity, maturation, observer drift, things like that. Those are all measurement artifacts. So measurement artifacts is like a false, right? So it's giving us information that isn't accurate. So already measurement artifacts is a problem, Do you get what I'm saying? Here it's asking you, the method of recording is causing problems with accuracy. Measurement artifacts is like the umbrella term for all of those problems. Does that make sense? We don't have accuracy because we're using time sampling, because it's discontinuous measurement. It's not giving us an accurate measurement value for the data we're observing, which causes, like, that is a measurement artifact. But do you get what I'm saying? Like, here is more like semantics and syntax of questions and breaking it down. Like, this has to do more so with comprehension. And if you guys are confused, raise your hand, because I'm sure you are. And Sydney, yeah, a lot of people are. Sydney, if you're on, you gave you gave a beautiful explanation of this in my last course, to the point where I was like, you need to do rationales for mock exams, because it really made a lot of sense. So I'm wondering if you can.
I'm trying to remember. I'm telling Janae right now, I was like, how could I get this wrong? But so I'm trying to backtrack, so bear with me. So the measurement artifacts, I went with this answer, and I'm kicking myself right now, but that's just time sampling in general, is measurement artifacts. But what this question is asking about is, she trained her supervisees, so now she's looking at the true value. Are they getting it of that out of seat behavior? So we know the reliability, you see that that's that repeatability. The validity, they're using the correct measurement to track the behavior. So there's no talk of the supervisee was using duration. It's still saying that she's using that partial interval. So that's why validity would be out. The issue is, she's using a 30-minute interval, where in reality, it's a 5-minute interval that should be used. So that's why with this method of recording, the problem is with our accuracy. I hope that
Jenny,
makes sense.
I was gonna say, Jenny, can I piggyback off of Sydney with this one too?
Please do.
Guys, with this question, Jenny said it's based on the semantics. What's happening is that the data is going to produce those measurement artifacts most likely, but the question is asking for which of those indicators of trustworthy measurement is being jeopardized, right, in this situation. So we need to break it down. So if it had said this is creating or this is causing blank, it would be causing measurement artifacts, but it's causing problems with, it's got to be one of those indicators of trustworthy measurements. So we know it's either going to be validity, reliability, or accuracy. So the measurement artifacts is the big picture, right? They're the problem that's happening, that, the misleading data is going to be the measurement artifact. But this one is saying it's this method of recording is causing problems with. That means it's indicating which of those indicators are trustworthy measurement. And the whole semantics changes it all. So if it had just said this is, this could likely cause blank, measurement artifacts, right? But it's asking this method of recording is causing problems with, which of those indicators of trustworthy measurement is it causing problems with? And that's the semantics of the question. For those of you who put measurement artifacts, it's one of, this type of, because the inaccuracy of the data collection would most likely lead to measurement artifacts, but this question is not asking that. The question is asking it's causing problems within which indicator of trustworthy measurement.
As the
For those of you
person
that
is, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
As the person from the beginning, they'd used a 30-minute interval as opposed to the correct way of measuring this type of behavior, which would have been a 5-minute. So that's why I picked accuracy over it. Measurement artifacts. I'm just trying to think, didn't they tell you, like a geologist, you're creating out of your, that there's something extra that might not be exactly I keep saying extra, but it's like an artifact is something real that's left behind.
That a study,
because too much time in their respect was the wrong way of handling it. So since she chose 30 minutes, a lot can go wrong in that. And I would have just thought that was the second best answer. Measurement artifacts. I understand if someone picked it.
Yeah, so I think what happened here is, like, yes, this scenario is causing a measurement artifact because it says causing problems, right? That's why it's accuracy, because accuracy we want, right, guys? That's why that one word makes a huge difference. Is it Lana or Lena?
Lana.
Lana, the measurement artifacts, I know you bringing up like extra and stuff like that.
I keep using that word, but I don't mean to. I know an artifact is an artifact.
Well, no, I know one prep course teaches it that way. I just want you guys to know in Cooper, it goes into detail about how measurement artifacts get created by discontinuous measurement procedures, along with observer drift, reactivity, poorly scheduled observation periods, and things like that. So I know you said geologist too, and that brought me back to a test prep course that spoke about that. But to me, I couldn't remember it that way. So to me, I just go with, okay, measurement artifacts, it's producing something that's not accurate. All right, guys, let's do the next question. I think you'll have more light bulbs, but great job, everybody. And that was a tough one. I would say like 75% of people usually get it wrong.
Oh, wow.
That's why we give it, because we want you to learn from it. All right, I'm going to do some prompting. When you guys get questions like this, one, it's definitely beneficial to know the definitions. Two, ask yourself, what is the main problem in this scenario and what type of measurement system are they using? And that will help navigate the correct answer choice. Questions like this make my heart rate go up. I'm not even kidding. in a good way though, because I think I get so anxious to explain for you guys to give your rationales and have your light bulbs. Okay. The answer, guys, is D, measurement artifacts. Dun, dun, dun. All right, let's go to Fang to give us her rationale. She got it right.
Yes. So so this is a light bulb moment for me.
Oh, I think you're muted.
No.
Can you guys hear her?
No, I can hear her. She's fine.
Yeah.
Never mind. I muted you guys. My bad. Sorry.
Okay, so this is a light bulb moment for me because it's talking about so the RPT is using whole interval recording on Kirk's stereotypy behavior using 5-minute intervals. The BCBA is concerned because the stereotypy is occurring for 3 minutes. And based on the data collection, the behavior is happening 0%. So he's using a whole interval recording, which is time sampling. So that is, I cross off B because he is using the right measurement system. It's just, it's not happening at the rate that it's actually occurring. So I also crossed off measurement bias and C, poor observation schedules. And that left me with D because it's not happening. You can't measure a whole interval. You can't even measure the behavior using whole interval because it's not accurate. Does that make sense? So yeah.
Jenny, you're muted.
Sunday fun day. Sorry, guys. Never a dumb question. Way to go, Fang, by the way. That was awesome. Stereotypy behavior, guys, is like a repetitive behavior. So whether it's like stimming, think of like vocal stereotypy when people like kind of make like vocal utterances or noises repetitively. That's stereotypy. Sydney, would you like to volunteer? Because I think, did you put D? I feel bad if you didn't.
I put D. No,
Okay,
no, I
awesome.
put A. I put A.
Okay, so guys, let's break it down. What is measurement bias?
The discontinuous measurement.
No, it isn't.
So measurement bias?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay, guys. Measurement bias is either a huge over or underestimation of the behavior. Now that is happening here as like the measurement value, right? So we know because of the inaccurate intervals, that's why it's a total underestimation of the behavior, right? However, like again, measurement bias is not, and Janae,
They're not doing it. They're not biased in what they're doing. The word biased means to put a little bit of, like your own type of deal into it. And this is measurement bias. So you're really not seeing it there. The one problem I had was between C and D, because I don't know if this is maybe one of my problems in testing, is there's definitely poor observation schedules there. Like they're showing 0% because they're doing 5 minutes. And these intervals are happening at 3 minute. 3 minute, that's what it should always be with a lower to not miss it. But I don't see, it's a very, very close. Measurement artifacts, yes, would be probably the most. That would be the best answer. And the only reason I know that is because there wouldn't be the measurement artifacts. It's 0%. They're doing nothing. So we'd have a big, I think, misunderstanding with the answer, which is right, which is D. Now, I may have looked at that different than you, but that's the way my brain went. Right?
No, that was correct. So guys, measurement bias is when somebody is going to have a biased view for whatever reason. So like if you want to, let's just say it said in the scenario that Jenny wanted to prove to everyone that the individual that she works with has like 0 stereotypy behaviors, but really it's happening. Let's just say for like 5 minutes every 20 minutes, right? But she recorded 0%. That would be more so measurement bias. Here, we don't have that bias perspective, so that's out. Lack of validity, it's not saying that we're using the wrong, it's not going into specific detail about not measuring what we're supposed to be measuring, right? So that's out. Remember, poor observation schedules is under the category of measurement artifacts. Measurement artifacts is discontinuous measurement, which is here, so you can check that off. Poorly observed observation times is also underneath measurement artifacts. So that's why measurement artifacts is the main issue here. And the reason why me and Janae gave this one today is because we wanted you to see the difference a little bit between why the last question was accuracy and why this one was measurement artifacts, because it went from, like, we know the baseline is at 3 minutes. If you're taking whole interval at 5 minutes, that's going to give you 0%. It's going to state that's not happening at all. That is a huge artifact because of it being discontinuous measurement. But we also know that this is inaccurate as well. So there is a problem with accuracy here. So I don't want you guys to think, well, wait, I'm confused. There is a problem with accuracy here. That's why it produced a measurement artifact. Hopefully that
Also,
made
Jenny,
more sense. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say too, a lot of people were asking about the poor observation schedules. Guys, this is, like Jenny said, it's one of the variations of, you know, with discontinuous measurement and producing that. But with this, guys, they're not talking about the observation schedules. That this would, like, C would be more so of like if the behavior occurs in the morning, like high frequency in the morning, and the RBT is coming in the afternoon and they're not catching it. So that's when that poor observation schedule comes into place. So if they were saying like the behavior, you know, say you did a scatter plot and the behavior occurs over lunchtime specifically, or during free time, whatever it is, and the RBT or the BCBA is going out and observing at a completely different time and the behavior doesn't occur. So that would be those poor observation schedules where it could lead to those artifacts because it's because you're not catching it, right? You're not seeing it because you're going out at the wrong time. But this one, like Jenny said, it's going to be the artifacts because it produces, I mean, it's showing up as 0%, even though we know it's happening for 3 minutes, but knowing, and this kind of encompasses a lot of different things. So knowing the definitions of A, B, C, and D, but also knowing that with whole interval recording, it has to occur throughout the entire length of the interval. So if it's only happening for 3 minutes of those 5 minutes, it's going to be a negative. Therefore, over time, it's going to show up as likely 0% all the time. But I just wanted to pull it up because people were asking about the poor observation schedules. So.
All right, guys, hopefully we helped you a little bit. I hope you guys aren't scratching your head and feeling bad because you got questions wrong. We'd much rather have you get questions wrong in our class than get them all right. At the end of the day, I can all ask you, hey guys, the true value is going to mean what, right? Like we can give you simplistic questions like that, but we know realistically that is not programming common stimuli. So we want to give you the hard questions. If you're going to get it wrong, we want you to get it wrong here and we want to help you understand it. So hopefully we helped with that tonight. Obviously, you know, a lot of this boils down to you guys reviewing it on your own and providing reinforcement for yourselves in regards to what you got correct and incorrect. Yeah, I'm so happy you guys showed up, and just remember we have analyzing questions, the private group tutoring. So imagine doing this, what we've been doing for the past like half an hour for 2 hours. Sometimes we do 2.5 hours depending on the group. And then drop-in classes are available for the spring course. The spring course started last Tuesday. This upcoming, our classes are on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. And this week we're doing experimental design part 1 and experimental design part 2, because realistically, you cannot cover that in one class. So, any questions?
One, do you do by task list too? Do you have like videos or anything? And do you have tests by the task list? Do you have a bundle?
So I do not have a bundle.
Or the raw? I'm just curious.
No, oh my gosh, the mock. It's like
it's crazy. I don't even.
It's not. No, it's not crazy. We're almost done. Like
okay.
My measurement, the amount of measurement questions we have, I think is close. What did I tell you yesterday, Janae?
That's
I
great.
don't even remember.
That's great.
I think of 400. I
it's
think
like-
we literally have like
yeah.
400 questions of measurement. It's insane.
Okay. Oh,
So
that's
I'm
really
like my mock exam, when it comes out, there's going to be variations. So it's not just going to be one. It's kind of going to be like how BAS has them and how FIT has them, where it's going to be a variation. And I'm going to give rationales. I mean, I do have mini mocks, so that's why I said
That's what I want. Yeah. I'd love
that's
that.
why I said in the beginning of class, if you have your video on during the whole majority of class, I'm picking 5 people from a raffle tomorrow night that attended today to win a mini mock of their choice for free. Lana? No, I said that wrong. Lana.
Yes. I'm done
can-
past the big ABA. I've done the study notes ABA full collected. So I've done them all, and I'm about 3 weeks from testing. But I think it would be good. I was looking to maybe do BOSS, but I did BOSS. I was with BOSS a little. And I haven't, it's not one and done, but it will probably be 2 and done because I didn't study there's a bulk of material you really got to know. But I'm up to doing Bill's like task list with his mocks. So if you have something like that, could you shoot it out to my email? I would just love to.
So, I mean, I have mini mocks, right? So Lana, I'll give you a breakdown of what we have. So we have tons of like recordings. We have live classes. We have private group tutoring classes. So like our course started last week, which goes through the whole task list. We go in order. So last week we did foundational knowledge and we did measurement. And the reason why I had a free class tonight is because we had some technical difficulties and I didn't finish this section of measurement. So that's kind of what we do. And it's from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. In regards to permanent products, such as mock exams and stuff, that is not on my website yet. But I do have mini mocks for purchase, but I'm all for free study materials. And I know that my bank account took a huge
me too.
decline when I studied for this test for almost 2 years. And I've taken every course out there. I do not recommend free mocks that do not give you rationales.
Right.
If they do not give them, because I know from working with my students and from personal experience that there are some errors, like I make errors sometimes too. But if there's not rationales behind mock questions, I suggest to my students not to take them because it causes more confusion. And then that's where the overgeneralization comes in. And that's when people get
I was doing a
questions
lot
wrong.
of it. I agree with you. So that's good. But so, all right. And how does it run? Like, is it like 3 or 4? Is it a bundle?
So I don't have them. So they're not done completely yet, like my mini mocks. So if that's something you're looking for, I can offer something to you and we can email, but it's not like I don't have like a set price for all
right.
of them
So,
yet.
and I just thought maybe if I did that, maybe, then I could just meet with you. Like I was just thinking I'm a teacher. I teach exactly like you. I think you're perfect. And I felt myself going a little, I can kind of get to the right answer. But the thing is right now, I do feel prepared for the test, but if then there were, I could do it another way too, which I thought I might do is at this point I can assess and I haven't assessed really the exact areas because I know the whole deal. So really the deals, the tasks where I'm faltering. And I also thought maybe I could get in touch with you and like just get tutoring. Like if I find that there's these, and you just know you have questions in those areas, then I find out there's 2 or 3 areas that I am really saying, wow, I just need a little bit more. I could do it that way too, right? I guess.
Listen, we offer I tell my people that come to us for one-to-one tutoring, whatever you guys want, we do. So if you wanted to go over something, we'll go over with you. We'll tell you your deficits. We'll show you what you're struggling with. We'll make you PowerPoints on specific areas. We'll give you questions. We do all of that. I definitely recommend, if you're not testing for another couple of weeks, I recommend dropping into our live classes for financial purposes. That's always seemed to be very beneficial for people. I can tell you some of my students are on here now that have went up significantly from attending our live courses and from doing one-to-one tutoring. I always think live classes are really beneficial because you get to hear other people's perspectives on things that maybe me and Janae might not explain, right? So you get more information. Also financially, it's a lot cheaper. There's some students that come to me and they're like, Jenny, I want one-to-one tutoring. I just want that. And I'll tell them as much as I would love to do that, like financially, right? I tell them like, I don't think you need it. But they'll get like a couple. So I don't know if I'm just putting that out there for those of you that are interested in one-to-one tutoring. I think one-to-one tutoring is great, but I also think the live classes is really beneficial too for the most bang for your buck. Like, I feel like you can't beat it. Especially since we have discounts right now on the website. So it's like the more classes, drop-in classes you purchase, the more of a discount you get. So instead of just buying one for $35, if you buy multiple, you get like $15 off and you get $20. Like the more classes you buy, the more money you get off. And we give you the PowerPoint as well. We just don't give you the questions. So like, I don't know, I freaking love our courses and our private group tutoring sessions.
I was gonna say, as someone who just, I passed in September and I tried everything under the sun prior to, to passing. I wish that I had come across Jenny's ABA retake, on attempt 5 and 6, right?
Well, I'm thinking that right now, but I don't know about the full live collective. It's almost aversive at this point. Like, I know I'm going to go in and pass it. I would like to feel just a little extra confident, like all of us people going in. It's not that I've done these full things, and they're great. And I'm sure she's even better than any of the other one I even took because I got out of my car and I was like, I want to keep saying that to you because I taught for 25 years in New York City. I'm a teacher. So now I'm making a different journey, and I've been on this journey for about 5 years. But all I'm going to say is that the way you are teaching is just awesome. That's it. And I said it before. I didn't know if I was going to reconnect through my computer. I didn't know how to get in through my computer once I had you on the phone. So I'm a little older than you guys, but the deal is I just feel that I'm at the point now, which might be different than other people, because I think people need you guys. They need all of these prep courses out there. But for me, I just feel like, I just think you're so wonderful that at this point, after I spent thousands and thousands, I may be able to just say there's certain areas. And I think you're just going to put it to the FK, you're going to put it to the other tests, and it will all work out. So I definitely don't want to keep everybody else, but I think you guys are awesome. I think you're unbelievable. Like, I'm sorry I found you this late too, because I think, are you a teacher? Are you guys teachers? Because you're phenomenal. Phenomenal as far as teaching.
I think it's because we took it so many times, to be honest with you.
All right. Okay.
I just passed in September. So I
appreciate that, Lana.
Yeah. And Lana, and remember too, like you said, like maybe certain areas of the task list, if you look at Jenny's drop-in schedule, like, so just say, for example, like section J is an area that, you have difficulty.
Yes.
Like that could be something like you can drop into that, like to that course rather than doing like the, the private one-on-one tutoring. And like Jenny said, you don't have to commit to the whole course. You can purchase like a certain amount of drop-in courses for a discounted rate. And you can kind of select which one. So say you did 4 drop-in classes, you would get that discounted rate for the 4 courses, and you would pick the 4 courses that you would want to drop in too. So I definitely,
that sounds perfect.
I think there's something
as a yes. And I have a month.
Yeah.
So I'm good.
Yeah, no, and I think so. Look at the schedule.
I put the link to it's okay. I put the link to the drop-in classes in the chat via our website. Also, I love our private group tutoring sessions. I know a lot of you have been to them, especially analyzing questions. Not saying I don't want you guys to think I'm ruling out one-to-one tutoring. We do tons of one-to-one tutoring. I'm just saying the people that usually pass are the ones that attend our live courses, do a couple private group tutoring. And what private group tutoring is kind of what we did today, except it's not free, but also it's longer. So what we do is like the first hour of class, we do like fluency drills and we go over a specific area of the task list. And then we answer questions for an hour. And for that, like anyone can drop in any time. So we have a lot of options, and I know it gets confusing. I actually have a frequently asked question link on my website that I can send to you if you do have questions, because I know all these prep courses have different things and it's freaking overwhelming. It's hard to keep track of, but I recommend coming into our drop-in classes because you don't have to commit to the whole thing, especially if you're testing soon. And then if you're interested in one-to-one tutoring, it's actually a different rate now for people that are non-course members, just because we've been getting so swamped and we want to give our course members first dibs, unfortunately, because they've been because they're the most loyal and they've been around. So we have to we're giving them a lower rate versus non-course members. However, we're not going to hold it against you if you're testing soon and you attend like 4 drop-in classes. To me, I will negotiate with individuals if that's the case. I won't give you like the non-course fee for one-to-one tutoring, if that makes sense. I don't want you guys to think like, oh, well, you can't commit to the whole course, so you're getting charged an extra, like, you know what I mean? However, if you don't attend any drop-in classes or anything like that and you're a non-course member, I do have to give you a set fee just because of supply and demand. That's all. Anyway, damn money. I know it's hard, but I think we try to be very, very reasonable with our prices because we have been in your shoes. I mean, Janae can talk to you about it. I can talk to you about it. Bree can talk to you about it. She took it 9 times the amount of debt she was in from prep courses. Like, we get it. That's why I try to give away free stuff as much as possible, just because I understand it's rough. Thanks, Layla. What'd you guys think about tonight? Was it helpful?
Excellent.
Thanks, Lana.
And I thought you guys were amazing. So I'm looking forward to looking into your prep course.
Sorry, Daisy, you cut out in the beginning. I heard looking forward to prep course, but I didn't hear you in the beginning.
I was just saying this is my first time being a part of this. So I really like the way you guys teach and explain things. So I'm looking forward to going onto your website and looking at the other options that you guys have that you were explaining.
Yeah, we're happy to have you. That's the thing, we're still relatively new, so not a lot of people know about us. But yeah, we definitely do things differently. I mean, I haven't been in a prep course in 2 years, but I know that from when I took it, when I was in the prep courses, our course is very different. I mean, there's some similarities, but I think we go into the nitty-gritty a little bit more. And people get mad at me too, which is okay because of the questions. I saw some pissed off faces tonight. Yeah, our mock exam is going to come out soon, along with our new website. But they come back. Yes, Layla. Layla, you want to give your experience? Sydney, you want to give your experience? Avia, Ama, you guys are previous students. You can talk for ABA retake.
I feel seasoned. No, I stumbled across Jenny and ABA retake. I think it was like the end of spring, early summer last year. I did a few drop-ins and then was like, okay, this chick knows what she's talking about. So I need to hop on this train. And I will say it is the best family, ABA family environment. Jenny is very compassionate about, she's very compassionate about what she does, and she really wants to help people. So I truly believe that much improvement. I think she just explains things completely different. I think it's just more of real life situations and really talking about it. If you don't talk it on your daily, it's not, it's not going to happen. You're not going to retain or absorb that information, because it's easy to study definitions. You can study definitions all day long, and your AKAs, but, of course you have to know how to apply it. So I think that Jenny and Janae do a great job. And of course, the rest of the ABA retake team. Miss you guys.
Oh, we miss you, Layla. Talk about perseverance over here. Well, that's all of you, like all my previous students, but Layla has been with us for a while. And I know extraneous and confounding variables get in the way. That can definitely alter, like, talk about losing motivation, right? I know even with ABA retake, like, I've had those confounding extraneous variables. And Layla, you've been a trooper, girl, so you inspire me. Sydney, were you gonna say something?
Yeah, I was gonna say, so I kind of started off, I think it was like little winter course, just a couple drop-ins. Somebody just directed me into the ABA direction. Then I kind of got hooked and ended up buying into the class. And I have to say it's probably like the best thing, because I started off, my baseline was 367, and then my second attempt I jumped to 398. So, which was like a shocker, but I did not think I was gonna go up that high. But I do have to give the credit to ABA retake, because like Layla said, you talk it out, but the best is that you all, Jenny does a great job of also talk out why you got it wrong. So that's what I like, because like I'll sit here and then Janae and Jenny will be like, Sid, you have that face on. I go, yeah, because I got it wrong. And they're like, okay, so we'll talk it out. Why do you get it wrong? So it's like they allow you to have your mistakes, but also they reinforce when you get it correct, and they see your rationale as well. That one question about the measurement artifacts and validity, we stayed on an extra 2 hours after class, I think, just because of that one question. And it was like that night, I was like, wow, I do get this stuff. And I was like, okay, I got this. So, I mean, that's why like this platform is just phenomenal and worth it. It is worth it. It is worth it. I've put my money elsewhere, but this is the one thing I keep coming back to.
My heart's melting. And I have goosebumps. Thanks, girl.
And I also woke up very early for this. I'm on the West Coast right now. So I'm like, I
Look
can't
at
miss class.
No, I love it. That's amazing. Yeah, the one thing I can say is a lot of our students come back, which I love. Like that, to me, that's a goal. Like obviously my goal is that my number one goal for all of you is to freaking pass and like not come back. But if you don't pass, like I much rather have people come back, because I know how it's a huge factor to have trust and to have a safe place when it comes to studying for this exam, right? And when people come back after improving like so much, and there's people that have come back to have decreased their score and that have jumped tremendously and then end up passing, like to me, having those relationships with you guys is so important, because I know it makes a huge difference versus like, yes, study material and like how things are presented and taught is a huge chunk of it. But to me, a lot of it boils down to the relationship factor and this feeling safe in a study environment, and also like being comfortable to be like, Jenny, I have no idea what the hell you're friggin' talking about. And I feel really like dumb. Like people say that to me and I get sad, because I'm like, but you're not dumb, but you're not alone, because like I had no idea what this was and this person doesn't know what that is. You know what I mean? Like to me, that is really important. And I know for myself, I think that was like the huge factor of me passing, was when I had an environment that I felt safe in, and also was just studying the material way different than I was taught. That made a lot more sense. So
yeah, I agree with you, Jenny, in that sense, because I took other prep courses prior, and I didn't feel a sense of security with asking questions that I was uncertain of. And then, I came across Jenny's prep course and I was like, what, you can ask these questions without getting judged? Like, I'm okay with that. And I would be like, Jenny, I need further clarification on this one. Like, why in God's name is this not the right answer? And she'd break it down and she'd tell me why it's not the right answer. And I would use that and apply it to other questions. So before I say this all the time, but when I took other prep courses, if you answered the questions, a few days before a class, and I incorrectly answered it, not knowing, I then took that incorrect answer and applied it to other questions and wasn't understanding the concept. So the fact that we're able to break down questions live in the moment, I think is super critical, because you don't take it with you to another question or, for a week to follow. And everyone learns differently. Like I'm not knocking the other prep courses, because they're good for so I'm type A. I needed to know why this was correct. I needed to know why it was not correct. I like the in the moment breakdown of everything. It was so helpful for me, so much so that I actually moved my test date up 3 times because I was like, no, like I'm fresh, I'm ready, like I know this stuff. And I moved it up 3 times so I could take it right after I took Jenny's prep course. And it's all about, ask the questions, find your niche, find your study group, find, the people who are I always say this, but the people in this group with the ABA retake family, like they're going to be the people who are going to lift you up when you're down. They are going to be the shoulders to cry on if you don't pass, but they're going to be the ones sending you the t-shirts and the balloons and everything when you do pass. This is literally a family, and there's nothing like it around. I know with my study buddies, I found lifelong friends with them. We all, the 3 of us passed within 2-3 weeks of each other, and after all 3 of us passed, we went out and we met out in person for the first time ever, and we had they're my forever friends. They got me through one of the toughest times of my life. So yeah, lifelong friends for sure.
So guys, analyzing questions is going to be Wednesday, April 29th at 7 p.m. Eastern time. That's an off day from our course. But again, like we have the drop-in classes available. A bunch of people aren't taking the full course. If you are still interested in the rest of the course, just email me. That option isn't available on the website. But if you email me, I can make it work for you. And I can also give you previous recordings of the classes you missed, because when you think about it, we're just on our second week. So if anybody wants to sign up late, you just missed 2 classes. We also have recordings for purchase, which I think a lot of people forget about. Like I have so many recordings. So like if you guys are on the West Coast, we have Bree that does tutoring for West Coast people, but also we have recordings. So Myra, yes, email me. David, our class schedule is, I'll send you the link. It's on our website. I sent it earlier, but I'll send it again. So if you click this link.
I just sent it, Jenny, you're good. Oh, you got it, never mind.
I sent it to everyone, there we go. Guys, I am starving. I didn't eat lunch and I'm afraid my puppy is gonna pee on the floor any minute, but does anybody have last minute questions before we hop off? Yay. Layla, it was so good to see your beautiful face and so many other people as well. So I know a lot of you, I will see you on Tuesday. The whole prep course is over May 27th. Yes, May 27th. So our course is 8 weeks long. And the last 4 classes are reviews, which are fun. I like review classes because it's us just dissecting questions from all areas of the task list. So we have 2 days of ethics, we have 2 days of intervention, we have 2 days of section D, and we have 2 days of experimental design. And then sometimes what I'll do, guys, like if you guys don't purchase drop-in classes for my course, I'll have private group tutoring sessions, which are pretty much just private classes, like outside of everything that I have like sporadically that anyone can join for. And they're usually analyzing questions or it's a specific area of the task list I feel like my students are struggling with. So if I get tons of emails of people being like, Jenny, I suck at IOA, like, can you do a private group tutoring on IOA? I will do that. But I just need to know. Usually when people tell me they want something on like ethics, like I'll do it. Like I did that last month. So let's see. Denise, when's your testing date?
May 11th.
So May 11th, let me look.
Because it was already scheduled before I signed up for the course. And so I was like, I mean, I'll push it back. I don't mind, but I don't know.
So, I mean, I think it comes down to your baseline, right? So like, I don't know what that is on my whole thing, I tell my students, sometimes I think it's better to push it back if you feel like you're not 100% ready. I know I never felt 100% ready, but if you feel like you need more practice or would like more practice, then I would. But again, it depends on your baseline. So like if you're getting like, I don't know, like 87s or like 76 and above in like mini mocks or like FIT mocks or BAS and stuff like that, and you feel confident and you feel like your anxiety is so bad that you can't even comprehend like the last 2 weeks of my course, I would say absolutely take it. But if you feel like you would be fine waiting and rather put in the extra effort those 2 weeks to get more practice in, then I would say do that. Because when you think about it, it's like a 2-week difference.
Right.
You know?
Makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm still recording. I didn't say anything that bad, right?